I'm so affected by my environment. Like, I'm very sensitive in that way. I'm just like a sponge living in New York, and whatever's flowing through me happens to make it into the collection.
Founder of the eponymous brand, Sandy Liang, one of Forbes 40 Under 40.
I'm Sandy Liang. I'm a fashion designer, and I live and work in the Lower East Side. I was probably like 1 or 2. I went to China to live with my grandma, and my grandma raised me up until pre-K. So I didn't even know that my home was New York until I came back. I was a step behind learning English and all that stuff. I always wanted to do fashion. My mom is super anti being vain, or what she perceived as being vain. Clothes were like bad, and if we were to go shopping, it'd be once a year, like you go back to school kind of vibes. I think that drove my interest, or like curiosity at least, about fashion from like an early age. But I went to a super specialized math and science high school, and I think going there made me feel like maybe I should take a more safe approach. I applied to RISD thinking that I was gonna be an architect. And I also wanted to like leave New York because I'd spent my whole life in New York at that point, and I was so excited to leave. And then I think it took me going to RISD for just 1 semester, and I was such a snotty like New York kid thinking, oh, I miss the city and like all this stuff. What I really wanted was to go back to New York and to like intern while I was in school for fashion. I was just really like sad at RISD. I think I just didn't acclimate. I like wasn't used to being away from like family. I felt so alone. I want to be on the 7 train with tons of people. I want to feel safe. It felt very like New England and sad for me. I begged my parents to come home, and I would just cry. And I think my parents were just like, okay, we give up. Just like do whatever you want now. In the beginning, you do a lot of research, and then you do a lot of sketching, and you just sketch and sketch and sketch, and then you refine and you edit. My personal history and just what I was going through emotionally as a person, and like my own memories were what I found most pulling, I guess. Chinatown grandmas were like one of my core inspirations. Just the fact that they're so effortlessly cool, and they all look great, and they like don't care what they are wearing. And so after graduating, I think I went the total opposite way, where like I was like, I'm gonna be a fashion designer, and I'm just gonna do whatever I want, and I'm not gonna have a plan. I'm just gonna throw a bunch of ideas on the wall. I just felt like I had a chip on my shoulder, and I had something to prove. And because I was so naive and I knew nothing about like business, and as long as like I can see it and I have this vision, I'm just gonna like slowly work towards it and like keep my head down. It was really tough for like, I would say like a good 5-6 years, especially in the beginning. And I think having to reconcile like the fact that I am running a business, plus I need to be like a happy person in order to like be creative. But I think again, being naive and knowing that I was so new sort of let me have more leeway, and it was okay if I messed up because it was my first time, and I just kept at it. My childhood is like constantly a source of inspiration to me. I feel like you access that core childhood part of you, and then it unlocks something within you that's like been covered by years of being an adult. I don't know, I try to protect that part of myself, and a lot of the things that I wasn't allowed to buy when I was little, as soon as I started making money for myself, I'm going on eBay and I'm buying all the stuff that I wasn't allowed to have. It makes me so happy, and it drives me, which is weird because I'm 32 years old, obsessed with these, childish things that were lost throughout the years. Your childhood is just like your pure, happy place. And so I'm trying to find that constantly through my work. So we were styling the Spring 21 collection, and I think somebody had walked into my office wearing a pair of Salomons. And my stylist, Dean, was like, those are the shoes. Like, we have to get those shoes. Briefly after that runway show was when Salomon reached out about doing a collaboration. I just remember being so happy that day and already like brimming with ideas of what I felt like we could do. I was presented with one shoe, and I remember being like, great, but I also want to do this other shoe. And they were like, well, we only, have space for one collaboration and one shoe. And I was adamant about like, please let me do this. And thankfully they did. And our first collaboration was very much more about, a colorway that like resonated with me. And this time around, it was more like you have the freedom to like redesign the shoe. And I think altogether, it's such a balanced, beautiful collection that like is super unisex and super comfortable. I can't wait to like wear them. So that's how I know I love this collection. We're all 365 days working towards something, and the show is when I get to celebrate with my team, and it's like, look what we did together. And everyone's hard work is being showcased, and everybody gets to be really proud. So that's a special moment. Without them, I wouldn't be able to do anything. I think back to the last few years, and it's 100% because I'm able to now work with people who teach me so much. I think I started the brand being my own intern and going to Midtown every day, picking up samples and doing the Instagram. And I see how people I've met along the way have contributed and have taught me so much. I am always a fan of having people interpret the work for however they want to, but I do feel like the reason why so many people resonate with the brand sometimes is because I do provide such insight into my process behind it. And I think that helps people understand it and relate to it more. I feel like the fact that I even designed one collection and I got to call myself fashion designer for a season, I'm so happy with that. I'm actually doing what I wanted to do when I was a kid. Isn't that kind of the dream? The thing that you'll never get sick of, the thing that was this fantasy. I don't think you're ever fulfilled as a creative, and I never feel like taking a break. I always want to move on to the next thing.